You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Mocha's Cafe de Paris. Well, I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Big ups to everyone. Thank you for being able to join the chat, being able to join the premiere. Again, I appreciate the support. Big ups to everybody who's been sending me cash apps. Shout out to Datorion for the cash app, $8 cash app. I really appreciate that. For anyone else who has sent me cash apps that I did not failed to mention, I want to thank you as well. Big ups to Mr. Walker for the $10 cash app. I appreciate that as well. And shout out to Mrs. Crisden for the $10 donation. I appreciate that as well. So again, I thank each and every one of you. So let's go into this right away, y'all. I wanted to talk about the story, a recent incident that happened in Clayton County, Georgia. Basically, what happened was there was a correctional officer and a nurse who was arrested due to the fact that they were bringing contraband into the jail for inmates. The article goes as follows. Less than 24 hours after a Clayton County correction officer was arrested in connection to the vicious beating of a prisoner, a female correction officer and nurse now face charges. The black lady that you see in my thumbnail goes by the name of Officer Tabitha Clifton. She is being accused of providing contraband to inmates at the jail. Clifton was arrested for violating her oath of office, according to Clayton County Sheriff Levon Allen. The Caucasian woman in the thumbnail is a nurse that goes by the name of Jessica Castellanos, and she is wanted for obstruction of an officer and furnishing prohibited items to inmates, according to the sheriff. Castellanos also provided contraband items to prisoners. Thursday night, the sheriff's office announced the arrest of ex-officer Sean Hollinsheed for allegedly planning and orchestrating an attack on an inmate in which the man was stabbed. Anyone with information on Castellanos' whereabouts is urged to contact the Clayton County Sheriff's Office. So I guess they are still in search of trying to find the nurse, but nevertheless they are going to find her, because once you get that kind of heat on you, you're not going to be able to avoid not having to answer to the law. So, of course, all of you know who have been following me for quite some time that I've done corrections for 2 years at the county jail. So, I've witnessed a couple of incidences like this occur with officers, with nurse, with different staff members. It's not just officers who get caught up, you know, being manipulated and used by inmates. You also have nurses, you have counselors, you have people who work in commissary, different employees within the jail end up becoming a little too overly acquainted with the inmates, and lines end up getting blurred and crossed. So this is nothing new under the sun. I've stressed this several times. Anybody who's been following me, I've always shared my experiences during my duration as a correctional officer. I'm grateful for the experience that I was able to do it for 2 years, and this was somebody that had no experience, who never done any type of law enforcement before. The average officer that's new to the profession, the average officer can only hang in there within a week or so. That's the max. The max I've seen new officers hanging there, I'll say it was probably about 2 weeks. And some don't make it past the first day, because it's such a culture shock to them when you enter inside these facilities and you realize that you are outnumbered. It is just you by yourself in authority over every bit of 60 to 75 individuals. And you have to be very attentive. You have to keep your eyes on all of these individuals at all times. Keep in mind, you're outnumbered. So they have better chances of keeping up with you versus than you do keeping up with them. And that just comes with the territory. So for those who may be curious, what made me decide to go into corrections? Well, for one, it was the money. The particular jail where I was working at, they paid really, really well. At this point, what they're paying is not that good now, because a lot of people are paying what they are paying, and these other jobs ain't taking them through half the headaches. A lot of jobs are paying $20 an hour now, so there's no competitive pay when you could make just as much being a damn Uber driver or working at Walgreens somewhere. But at the time, before the pandemic came about and all of these jobs were forced to have to increase their minimum wage to $20 an hour, I was getting paid roughly around that amount of money when minimum wage was like 13 to 15. So for me, that was a lot of money. Okay, 20 and some change an hour. So not only is the wages good, but it's stable work, because they're going to always need, it's a stable career, it's a stable job. They're going to always need law enforcement officers. There's no such thing as layoffs. You know, not too much these days. If anything, they are constantly short-staffed. They need more staff than ever now, but I will go into that as I continue to go on with this content. So those were really my main reasons: the money, and the stability, and definitely the benefits. The benefits are really, really good. The medical, the dental, you do get the top of the line. And me personally, I really feel like as an officer, you shouldn't even be getting charged. They shouldn't even be taking that out your check. That should be compensated by the state or the facility. I just think as an officer, your life is already at risk every day, so you should not be having to compensate for life insurance, especially when you're in that type of facility. That's that line of work, period, regardless of what facility you work at. So anyway, when it comes to being an officer or nurse, any type of position you have in the jail, it's very imperative that you have what's called strong intuition, common sense, wisdom, and knowledge, and you definitely have to have some street smarts. You can't just be book smart and not have any street smarts, and you can't just be street smarts and not have any educational smarts. And you definitely have to be a person of strong intuition. You have to be able to read the room. You have to know when an inmate is really trying to work his way into getting to know you. You have to pick up on the things that they say and do when you're in their presence, the questions that they ask, things of that nature. For instance, the first time I started working there, they assigned me to a men's unit. Okay, mind you, this was somebody who never even done corrections ever before. So I got assigned to the men's unit. So my first day, like any other day, I was really like anybody else who's doing something new they never did. As much as they trained me, this type of profession is a profession that they cannot train you for everything. It's just impossible for them to train you and prepare you for the game, all the games, all the lies, all the manipulative antics, all the gaslighting. These inmates are professional manipulators. And if you are a woman who's attention starved, if you're a guy that lacks confidence, if you're a person that's a pushover, you don't stand your ground, or if you're a person that's way too aggressive and you're doing too much to try to throw your weight or your authority around, you're not going to last long in this type of profession. Now, truth is, when you first apply for this type of career, they're going to tell you all the wonderful perks of becoming such a team player, a new member of the blah 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 correctional institution, whichever institution you choose to work for. They're going to give you the salesman pitch. They're going to tell you about all of the pay, the bonuses, the time and a half you'll get for all the holidays that you work. They're going to tell you about the wonderful 401k plans. They're going to tell you about all of the special perks you can get as an officer. You know, some facilities, if you are a Verizon customer, if you have proof that you actually are a law enforcement officer, some of these mobile service provider companies honor law enforcement where you get a certain percentage off on your phone bill, for those of you who didn't know about that. But they're going to tell you all the wonderful things. You're going to get sick leave, you're going to get vacation. They're going to tell you all the wonderful things to sell you into taking this position. But the unfortunate part is you find out that all of the rewards, all of the benefits does not outweigh the stress that you're going to be dealing with. And this is for anybody who ever is thinks about or is considering going into law enforcement. Now, I'm talking about correctional officers specifically. I never worked outside of the jail. I've never been a street officer, so I cannot give you too much knowledge on that. Being a street officer is different because you're dealing with offenders in the street. You're going into their own personal domain, which is a little dangerous if you ask me. Unlike the jail, in most cases, it's kind of hard for them to get a hold of a weapon, or it's not like entering their own personal property where they have a gun under their mattress where they can pull out the gun on you, whatever. So it is more riskier being a street officer compared to being a correctional officer. But being a correctional officer is harder because you live with these criminals. You live with these rapists, these molesters, murderers. You are in constant contact with individuals who have committed these type of offenses. You have to not only watch yourself or protect yourself, you have to protect these inmates. If any sugar honey iced tea goes down in your unit, the inmate gets hurt, injured, and you did not do what you were supposed to do, you did not protect yourself, you did not protect the other officers, something major goes down, you could have a lot of heat coming down on you. This is a very, very sensitive profession. It's nothing to play with. Don't let the badge and the authority fool you into thinking that it's not going to be challenging, because you're putting your life on the line every day that you into that facility. You don't know what you're up against. You may get lucky and go for a whole 2-3 weeks with nothing jumping off other than your usual bullshit, getting cussed out, getting an inmate that get rowdy on you every once in a while. But it's that one day you never prepare for, where you may encounter that inmate who will throw piss on you, who will throw a cup of feces on you, an inmate who you will unlock the door for because he has a visitation from his lawyer, only to discover that that inmate just decides today to attack you because he's in his feelings. He's angry that he knows, based on the decision he made, he'll never get out of jail. So you was just the lucky one that he chose to take that frustration out on. Every day is a gamble because you're dealing with hundreds of different personalities. So when you work for these type of facilities, you have these inmates who are sniffing you out like bloodhounds. They're sniffing you out, trying to figure out what you are about. And it starts off with small conversation. Everything I'm telling you is the pieces is going to come together as to how this correctional officer and how this nurse ended up getting infiltrated. I know it's taking me a minute to get there, but I have to make y'all understand how this thing really works. So you could put all the pieces together. You could tie it all together, and you'll see how officers and other staff members end up getting in these type of situations in which inmates are able to coerce them to commit these type of offenses. So everything starts off with small conversation. Of course, they're going to tell you during your training, when they're training you on how to deal with inmates, when they're teaching you on how to deal with the jail, on how to deal with staff, all of this wonderful 2-3 week training that you're going to be going through before they actually cut the umbilical cord, turn you loose to have to work these units by yourself. So after all of this training is done, you learn how to do shakedowns, you learn how to do verbal judo as far as communicating with the inmates, and all of these other requirements that you have to pass. Also getting pepper sprayed, all of this stuff you got to go through. Your physical agility test, have you run an obstacle course or something to see if your ass will get out of breath within the first 2 minutes. You know, all of these things they have you do. Nevertheless, they throw you to the wolves, and they let you know what unit you're assigned to. And once you get to that unit, it is on and popping. It is no turning back. You go into your assigned wing. Your assigned wing is the actual part of the jail where the inmates sleep, eat, and sugar honey iced tea. Okay? You're directly in contact with the inmates. You may be lucky. Some facilities have it to where there's no direct contact. They take extensive safety measures where you speak to the inmates through an intercom. You pass things through a window, so you're not up close and personal. It's harder for them to be able to attack you or bring harm to you because the facility is more safety structured. Where I was, it was not safety structured. These guys were able to be around me like we're in a public mall, in a public restaurant. Okay, there was nothing, there was no barrier that really kept them from not being able to approach me or be in contact with me or touch me for that matter, because we were in physical contact all the time. Now, inmates are going to sense you out, smell you out. They're going to tell you during training, don't tell them none of your business. Don't tell them where you from. They're going to give you all this strict talk about, they don't need to know anything about you. Truth is, you're a human being. You're around these individuals, what, on an average day, 14 to 15 hours. Oh, please don't fall for the you only have 12 hours. Do not. They're going to lie and tell you you only work 12 hours a day. I will let you know that is the biggest lie any jail can tell any officer. Let you know now, if you want a job where you can go home on time, get off on time, you be able to get your kids from childcare as soon as you get off, do not join corrections. That is not one of these jobs for the most part. You have some facilities, but for the most part, they cannot guarantee you that you're going to get off on time. The average officer on an average day, you're going to do 14 hours. Don't believe the hype 12 hours. Because for one, they're going to expect you to be there 30 minutes early to do your debriefing. That's when they have their meetings. Then that's when you actually go to your unit when it's time for your shift to start. You will never ever get off on time. I'm just letting you know that now. It's not going to happen. You're really ever just going to do your 12 hours straight up and you go home. No ma'am, no sir, don't believe the hype. And the reason for that is because you constantly got officers that are calling out because they're burnt out, they're tired. You got officers that are coming in late because they barely got any rest the night before, having to stay over because it was short-staffed in their unit. It really is very frustrating. If you the type of person you look forward to being home at a certain time, it can really be very discouraging to know that every day you're not going to be going home on your scheduled time. Some days you're going to be staying over, meaning officers are going to call out. And this happens a lot. This ain't no once in a blue moon type of thing. If you work for a jail that's pretty structured, it may not be too bad. But most of the time, when you got 20 to 18 officers in one unit, everybody's not going to be on point. Okay? You're going to have a good majority that don't like to come in and alleviate the other officers who done been there all night because they themselves have been there all day. So it's a domino effect. You know, it starts to, the whole staff as a whole start to suffer from burnout. So if an officer doesn't show up, you have to do what's called a stay over, meaning you have to do 4 more hours. By law, they cannot make you do no more than 16. You already been there 12, okay? By law, if someone does not show up, they cannot make you stay no more than 4 hours. So if you work night shift, you got in 7:30 that night, you technically didn't start till 8 p.m. Come 8 o'clock that morning or 8:30 that morning, you technically, that's your 12 hours. Keep in mind, you're never going to get off exactly 12 hours because it's just too much stuff that happens within the jail for people to be able to get off exactly when they're supposed to. Things happen. Inmates doing child, they don't get their trays, their orders get mixed up, all kind of shit happens where you cannot just up and leave and not take care of it before the officer gets there. It's always right when you get ready to get off, that's when all the bullshit pretty much starts going on, and it delays you from getting out of there on time. You got to make sure all of those trays are out of there. You got to make sure everybody took their medicine before you leave. You're just not going to do straight. You're not going to do 12 hours. I can't stress that, okay? Because I don't want them lying to y'all if you decide to go into this. So if you have to do the extra 4 hours, that means you're going to stay till 1. So can you imagine how tired you are at this point? Keep in mind, you may have to come back that same night. They're not going to cut you any slack just because you have to stay over and do another 4 hours and say, okay, since you did have to stay another 4 hours, you don't have to come in at night until probably about 10, 11 o'clock. No, they still want you to, they still expect you to get those 3-4 hours of sleep, and God forbid if you live in another county. God forbid if your residence is further out. It's going to take you about an hour to get home. So you may get 3-4 hours of sleep and you got to pop right back up like a Pop-Tart and still come to work. That's just how it goes. Okay, so you got to deal with stayovers, and very frustrating. The thing I hated the most was mandatory overtime. Mandatory overtime is very frustrating because basically it gives the staff and authority over you leverage to decide how many days you're going to work on your days off. Now keep in mind, the upper staff is going to look out for themselves, the lieutenants, the sergeants, because they are higher rank now. They're not going to want to have to stay and fill in the void. They want to go home and be with their husbands, their wives, and their children. And what happens is the officers that are underranked, y'all are ones that have to scrape the doo-doo from the bottom. So if they are short of, let's say if the average unit needs 20 officers, and they have 5 officers that's out, which is a huge shortage just for that unit alone. We ain't even talking about the other parts of the jail. I'm trying to make it simple. We're just going to focus on one unit. The 5 officers, 2 on vacation, 1 out for sick leave. One of them had somebody close in the family pass away, and another one probably got suspended for something dumb or an investigation that they did in the jail. That means that's 5 slots, 5 open schedules that got to be accounted for. Keep in mind, inmates have to be supervised 24 hours. It's not like the jail closes down at a certain time to where every officer can get a cutoff period. Like, okay, the jail closes at 10 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock, everybody knows at least they got 10 o'clock till 10 o'clock to deal with the bull. With the jail, it's worse because it's 24 hours around the clock. They need that jail supervised around the clock. And those that are in higher rank, they don't feel like they have to get down and help the lower rank officers by filling in the void and volunteering to do some overtime, volunteering to come in sometimes. You may have 1 or 2 lieutenants that are very fair and they remember what it was like during their struggle as a low rank officer, and they have a little bit more compassion and sympathy. Well, they'll stay sometimes, but that ain't gonna happen too many times. And something about when you get that rank and you know you don't have to do the shit you used to do, something about that rank, it just makes you more lazy, and it makes you want to leave all of the hard work on the bottom officer. Now, the only bad part about high rank officers who do this is that they burn the lower rank officers out to the point lower rank officers are calling out, they're quitting, not showing up. So this does bring more stress on those in high rank, because now they got to find a way to fill in the gaps. And if they can't find a way to fill in the gaps, then they got to be the ones to stay. And we know once you done got used to rank, all of a sudden you're too good to stay over. You're too good for mandated overtime. But mandated overtime is very frustrating. Every month you will get a calendar, a schedule from your superior that's letting you know all of your days you think you're going to have off that month, you're not going to have them off. You got to work the days you have off, and still on top of that, work your scheduled days. My first month there, only had 2 days off out that whole month. My schedule was $2,500, but the lack of sleep that I was deprived of, it was not, I couldn't even enjoy the check because I was so tired. They were so, and that's what a lot of these jails do. Once they start getting a nice batch of new officers coming in, everybody wants to start taking vacation now. Everybody wants to start calling out now. Everybody wants to call in sick now because they see all of these new officers coming in, and they see this is their opportunity to try to get their rest, to try to get some time off. They're burnt out. I get it. Nevertheless, anyhow, so these inmates are smelling you out, and they're going to ask you questions. And training, they're going to tell you, don't talk to them. Don't depend on who's training you. Don't tell them your business. Don't let them know where you're from. You're a human being. You're going to have conversation. You're going to communicate. I did it. I did have inmates who asked me where I was from. Now, I would answer questions, but I knew how to answer questions without being very specific. I would not give them anything where they can go on Facebook and look it up. Anything where they could do their research. Anything. Where you from? You know, I'm from Savannah. You know, that's not nothing big to tell them. A lot of officers at that time, you know, live where they work, which I don't suggest that. I really feel like if you're going to work out of jail in another county. Avoid working at one where you live, where you're constantly in that area, where you're going to constantly run into all inmates that you done arrested, inmates that you probably fell out with in the jail because you wrote them up. Just be mindful of that. And most of the time, you know, they don't make it a big deal. I mean, they so happy to be out. They could really care less. But you'll just have those 1 or 2 that like to hold grudges or whatever. So you just never know. But nevertheless, I knew how to answer questions. They asked me if I was married, and they knew I was because of the rings I had on my finger. How long I've been married? I've been married 20, 30 years, whatever. When they get to asking me who my husband is, that's why I draw the line. What he does for a living, that's why I draw the line. You cannot give them anything direct. The problem is a lot of women, I notice females get caught up the most when it comes to working inside the facilities, because women by nature, we love to talk. We love to run our mouth. We are conversationalists, if that's a word. And when you're doing all of those hours, it can be very boring if you don't interact or communicate. You have to communicate in order for the time to go by, in order for your shift to not be so long. You do have to have that line of communication. Took me a while to find my way with the inmates. Over time, you know, I'll say within the 6 months is when I really had been broken in, where I was able to my confidence was better. I was able to pick up on things more. I found a routine in which I was able to get the inmates to cooperate, helping me to run the wing effectively. Little things, you know, that's why it's important that you're not very nasty, because you need inmates to help you to make your job easy. They help you with the laundry. They help you pass out the trays. A lot of things you cannot do by yourself as an officer. And you need them in a sense. So you cannot be bitchy and beastie. I've seen officers be bitchy and beastie only for inmates to say, I ain't doing nothing. I'm going to leave it all on her. You know, I don't like that officer, so you got to be careful. But anyway, so they fill you out, and women have the tendency to talk. You have to have lines. You can't be keying too many times too often. What tends to happen, how this officer and nurse most likely got caught up, because it's so much that entails into me going into corrections. I'll probably leave a poll about that and leave it on my community tab. But in the meantime, let me get to the steak and potatoes, because there's a lot of stuff that entails of being a correctional officer, and it's like I'm giving y'all a whole goddamn tour guide, and I got to get directly to the point. 9 times out of 10, what has happened is these inmates was able to sense somewhere the officer let her guard down. Okay, the officer nurse, they let their guard down somewhere. They became overly comfortable with these inmates. There's no way in hell an inmate can convince you to just bring in illegal items. Something happened. And the thing about it is, this profession, I don't recommend it for women that are lonely. I don't recommend it for women who love attention. I don't recommend it for women that have a weakness for men. If so, they're going to find a way to break your shell and have you doing things that can possibly land you in the situation that these young ladies are facing. What tends to happen is, it starts with conversation. These guys are talking to you, filling you out. First, it starts off innocent. You may be careful the first 1 or 2 times. Somewhere along the way, you start losing your guard. You run your mouth. You tell too much of your business. It's something as simple as, I'm tired. I've been working all week. You know, just when you start sharing too much of what's going on with you. And if you're not careful, you'll forget that you're dealing with inmates. You'll think that you're talking to regular guys that you could talk to in the street. Because a lot of them are, some of them are handsome, good looking. Some are charmers, okay? Some are funny and witty. Not all inmates are assholes. Some are very polite. Some are very mannerable. I've had inmates, good morning, ma'am. How you doing, ma'am? Have a blessed day, so-and-so. They know how to talk to you with kindness. They know how to be nice. And you as a woman, you cannot let a man's charms, especially in that type of environment, make you feel safe to where you opening up and you sharing too much of what's going on. It can easily happen because you're seeing the same guys every day. Most likely, somewhere along the line, somebody got too comfortable. They allowed, they entertained too many inmates. They either entertained too many of them, or they had entertained one or two for way too long and something happened. Everything starts with conversation. When you share little simple things, like it could be something as simple as, oh, I'm tired. Oh, this job is just not paying me enough to go through this. And here comes the inmate. Well, what you mean the job ain't paying you enough to go through this? You mean to tell me as much as they have you working here, you ain't making no good money? And here comes the female officer who slowly but surely let her guard down. Yeah, man, I mean, they pay me all right, but man, my check last week was only $200 and something. No, that's too low for pay. My check last week was only $1,200 something, and I got all these bills, I got all this and that, blah blah blah. You just talking because you're forgetting where the hell you are. You done got so comfortable with these guys laughing and joking and playing with them that you forgot your professional line. You letting them in on things that you think is harmless, but it's actually giving them leverage to know how to calculate you. That's all they paying you? Shoot, man. Hell, I don't even work in the jail. I make more money than that. I make more money than you. Just, you know, sleeping and scratching my balls and eating honey buns and, you know, ramen noodles. I'm making more money than you, just not doing shit. Shoot, man. I mean, you know, if it's things that tight for you, man, I know some people, I know somebody who could hook you up, you know, but I can help you make some extra money from the outside, you know. Ain't nothing major, you know, just, and I ain't gonna have you to do nothing where you gonna get in a lot of major trouble, but I got some people from the outside that I can connect you with where I can have you getting double what you getting. If all you getting is 12, I could double that within a week. First, you may try to play hard. Oh no, I'm good. I ain't. I'm good. I'm not trying to get myself in that situation. All right. I mean, I feel you. You know what I'm saying? But you know, things get tight. You know what I mean? I know some people. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm not going to do nothing to jeopardize you. I understand at the end of the day, you got a family. You know, you got a home and stuff you got to take care of. But, man, I can tell, you know, you good peoples, man. This job ain't doing you right. You deserve, you know what I'm saying, to get way more than what they giving you. You know what I mean? You know, if you ever need that hookup, just let me know. You may play hard for a little while, but depending on personal stuff that you're going through, depending on waiting for that pay every 2 weeks, depending on how much your back is financially up against the wall, not only that, your own staff is handling you all kind of way. Inmates know a lot of shit. They know a lot of stuff. They know a lot. They know more of what's going on than the officers do. I've had inmates come to me, they let me know what officers got fired, why they got fired, who the lieutenant is smashing, who the sergeant is smashing. They know who's gay in the jail, who's straight in the jail, who's married, who's having marital problems. I tell you, inmates are worse than female clients at a beauty shop. They will tell everything. They don't tell on each other. That's the ironic part. Inmates don't tell on each other, but they will tell on other officers about other officers, especially if it's an officer they don't like. I was the cool officer, so they always taught me all the other officers' business, which checked out a lot. You know, as much as we want to say inmates lie, that's not always the case. A lot of times they be knowing what the hell they be talking about. What makes officers so comfortable? These inmates ain't just learning it to be knowing it. Officers somewhere is running their mouth. They telling it. Officer who don't like another officer. Yeah, her husband, her officer so-and-so, her husband, they divorcing. They having problems. These inmates are getting information from other dumbass officers who just messy as hell, you know what I mean? So an inmate knows how to break into your emotional chamber. If he knows financially you're struggling, that's the spot he's going, that's the combination he's going to try to break. If he knows you lonely, inmates can tell you lonely. They see no rings on your finger. They see that every time they talk to you and approach you, how you smile, how you laugh, how you hold such a conversation so long that you're not paying attention to what the other inmates are doing within the wing. You're not paying attention to the other inmates passing contraband to each other, you know, other violations within the wing, because you're so asphyxiated in your conversation with this inmate, and he knows it. He knows, I could easily get her attention. Once I hold a conversation with her, she get to going. I can talk to her for 30, 40 minutes and look out for my boys. That way they could pass contraband, pass drugs and stuff, because I could tell she loves attention. These men can smell you once you come in. You can't think because you're an officer and they're inmates, they're criminals, that you got to one up and you automatically smarter than them. Never underestimate that. That's how it starts off conversation. Once the conversation has taken place, depending on what that officer is going through, she's going to meditate. You can already tell when you done went in too far, when you're thinking about an inmate after you done left your job. You thinking about them, you worrying about how they're doing, and you're not even at the facility. You already are in too deep, deeper than what you should be as an officer. You're reflecting on the conversation when y'all both talked about the best restaurants to eat at in your area. When y'all talk about y'all childhood, the cereal y'all used to like, you start thinking about this person for no reason at all. Thinking about the conversation. Next thing you notice, if you're not careful, when you go to that jail, a part of you starts looking forward to them, to seeing them. And your own unprofessional, personal ass way, you start kind of thinking about them. You know, or they uproot you out that unit and put you in another unit. You done got an attachment to an inmate at the unit that they removed you from, and you worrying about how he gonna feel now that you no longer there. You wondering if he gonna notice that you're not at that unit anymore, if he's gonna ask about you. This is little psychology stuff. The jails don't teach this enough. They don't teach this enough. They don't preach this enough. They don't talk about inmate psychology. They do not preach it and teach it. And these are the main things that new officers need to be aware of when they're entering into this type of environment. So, depending on what you're going through, you go back to your unit, you see that inmate again, y'all still conversating, you pick up where you left off, you run into a situation, and you think, you know what, I really need this break. I mean, it's just one time. It's just once. The money I'm getting, it ain't cutting it here. I'm in need of a break. I need a quick, fast break. I need that hookup. I'ma just take my chance. I'ma take my chance and see what this is about. So you go back to your unit. That same inmate approaches you. What's up? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. No, I still got that hookup. You know what I'm saying? I mean, inmates are very persistent. They are more persistent than a dude in the club trying to get your phone number. They are very passive aggressive. You need anything. I've had inmates tell me that. They always want to let me know if I need something. I can depend on them. I already know you up to some bull crap if you already let me know. If you need anything, I got you. Let me know, and I'll take care of it for you. Little keywords that a lot of new officers don't pick up on, and you're so gullible. You're looking on the surface versus beneath the surface. So, moving right along with that, you start meditating and really contemplating on the deal that was proposed to you. So you think about it and you finally have contemplated the pros and the cons, and you think to yourself, this is a quick lick. I should be able to pull this off. It's only a one-time thing. All I got to do is see what this deal consists of. If it's going to give me double what I'm already getting, I'ma see how sweet the deal gonna plan out. So you finally have that conversation with him. You got to low-key do it because you know it's other inmates looking. You got to play it off. And whether you doing your rounds in the rec yard, whatever you got to do to downplay it to where it's not obvious that you are making this plan happen with this inmate. So you decide to tell him, look, what all is going to come with this? What would I need to do in order to get this quick lick? Well, all I'm going to have you do is I'm going to holler at my man. I'm going to holler at Black. I'm going to let him know he can meet you at such and such and such. He's going to give you the items that you need. All you got to do is bring them items in here. Once you do that, I'm going to make sure once you get there, he going to pay you off the muscle. So you ain't even got to worry about when you going to get your money, how you going to get it. You're going to get it off the muscle. But you have to make sure once he pay you that you bring that stuff in here the very next day. Once he put that money in your hand, you have to do your part. You have to bring it in, because from there, that's when I have to start making my bids with the guys in here. So that way I can keep giving you that money out there. As long as you keep bringing the supplies, bringing in, you know, those items, as long as I'm making money in here, I can keep doubling you, tripling your money out there. So that's how that go. You look out for me, I'm going to look out for you, and we're going to keep this thing going. That way, you still getting paper on top of the paper you already getting while you working here. Sounds like a cool deal. Oh, well, shit, all I'm doing is bringing in some stuff. So you go and meet the guy he told you about. He already told you what spot he was going to be at. You called that number. He gave you the location. He told you what his car looked like. So you go and you meet the guy. Whoop-de-woo, look here. I done already talked to Ace from the inside. Ace let me know this is what he needs. So I'm going to go ahead and start you off with this. If you can get this in successfully and there's no problems, then what we'll do is we'll keep supplying, looking out for you, and supplying you with the money as long as you are holding up your end of the deal and making sure everything is going inside the jail without you getting caught or any attention being drawn to you. So as long as it keeps going successfully, we're going to keep putting money in your pocket. So you made your first lick. You got your lunch bag, your McDonald's cup, whatever. You know you can easily enter into the jail without being stopped, without being questioned. You put those items in. You put them in your deodorant. You know, underneath the deodorant, once you done took the deodorant out of the deodorant container, you stuff your items in there. You stuff your items in your tampons, your maxi pads. These are items that don't bring a lot of attention, because this is something women have to have and women bring in all the time. Like I said, you bring in a cup of McDonald's. People thinking it's sweet tea and you got a beverage or something in there, when really you hiding some fentanyl or some synthetic K2, whatever items that they have talked you into bringing inside of the jail. So you bring it inside of the jail. You successfully was able to pass the items to the inmate. Nobody suspected a thing. Everything went smooth. Not only that, you done got paid $1,500 in one day. Something that normally takes you top to work 3 days out the week to get. No, my apology. Takes you almost at least a week and a half to get. You got that in one day. So it went smooth. It went fast. Now you feel confident like this is something you could pull off. So what usually happens with these type of transactions, you lie to yourself and tell yourself you're only going to do it one time. But you pulled it off so smoothly. And the money was so fast. Money you didn't have to wait on. You still getting that money on top of your paycheck from the state, from what the correctional institution is paying you, the sheriff's office. So you're getting double the income by doing something very simple. It's not hard, sneaking some items in the jail, and you're getting paid big for it. What tends to happen is now greed starts setting in. Because you did it once, nothing happened, it went so smooth, and inmates are greedy. Once you start them with something, you have to keep doing it. It's not okay, well, she did it for me one time, I ain't never gonna mess with her like that. Once you have opened that box, you belong to them. You belong to them. Now, it can go one or two ways, all right? It can go this way. The officer who has now sealed that deal with this inmate could either A, now that she's become seen how quick and fast she can make that big money, now she's going to do it again. Because she felt like if she pulled off before and nothing happened, she feels like all I got to keep doing is applying the same method and nothing is going to happen. Now greed is setting in. You want that big lick again because it went so smooth and fast the first time. Now you're ready for that next big lick. Because those county checks ain't cutting it. You got to wait every 2 weeks for them county checks. You looking for that next big lick. Okay? So now greed has set in. You and Ace do y'all little sidebar conversation in the jail. He lets you know about that connect. So far, everything is copacetic. It hasn't been drawn on nobody's attention. Everything going smooth. You getting your county check and your street check is going copacetic. So she'll keep it going because greed has stepped in. Or B, which is worst case scenario, it's still bad either way because at this point you already done signed the deal with the devil. Or because she got away with it that one time, she may be scared now to do it again. Because she may look at it like, I got away with it before, but I may not get away with it the next time. So now she might try to back down. Which is even worse because not only have, in some instances, the officer gets greedy like the first scenario I told you. Now she may want to keep getting that next lick and that next lick and that next lick. The problem is you're dealing with an inmate that by nature is greedy. And the inmate will never ever get enough. Because you have to realize they hurting in there, they suffering in there, and whatever you give an inmate in the jail is going to go quick because he's giving other niggas, he's looking out for other inmates as well. His friends, his homeboys he hooking up, they burning through him quick too. So he has become codependent on you as his source. None of the other officers he can't get to do it. He done got you to do it. He's going to look forward to you to keep supplying and coming through. Because it done came so easy to him. Now you want to back down. Nah, that was a one-time thing. I can't risk my job. I can't risk, I got away with it before. But ain't no guarantees that I'm going to pull this off again. Man, come on, man. You done already looked out, man. I got these guys in here hounding me. You got me under a lot of pressure, Mom. I still need to make another drop. I owe some of these niggas in here. You owe? What you mean you owe? You got to realize, when you looked out for me, I had some people I owed. And now they done went back and said something to other niggas who I owe as well. I ain't think they was gonna do that, but now I got a lot of pressure on me. I'ma need you to look out. I'ma need you to look out for me again. So at this point now, he's pushing the narrative because he sees you no longer want to partake in this, but because you made him his lifeline, now it's going to become a problem, because you have to realize inmates make a lot of deals. They owe a lot of debts. A lot of them got gambling issues because that is their way of survival when it comes to these jails. All of them don't have rich family. All of them don't have family, period, putting money on the books looking out for them. So that is their way of surviving, by getting you as an officer who has already opened that door for them, by hooking him up so he could hook up other inmates who could take care of them from the inside. By you looking out for him, now he's looking like Nino Brown, as far as within that jail, within that unit, as the main guy who got the supply. A lot of the inmates are going to respect him and take care of him off the strength of that. And that's why it's important they look for you to continue to seal the deal. Now, if you're the greedy officer, it's going to be smooth selling for him. Because now that you done got used to that big lick, you done brought items and smuggled drugs in there a second time, a third time. It's easy breezy. He don't have to turn the pressure up because you already giving in. You're fully cooperative, and he got his outside man paying you. And this is where it starts to backfire, and we're going to go further into that. Now, you want to back out the deal because you feel like you got away with it before. You don't want to keep pushing the issue. Because you as an officer, you know about the outside stuff as far as the things that the officers got to be cautious of that the inmate don't know. Maybe it's been brought to the attention of your superior and y'all had a brief meeting. Hey, we know that drugs are somehow, some way entering into the jail. If y'all know anything, y'all see anything, keep your eyes, keep your ears open. See, the inmate don't know these personal meetings. Nothing stays a secret in these jails. Let me tell you something. Nothing ever stays a goddamn secret. Jail is worse than church. Everybody know every goddamn thing. Because jail is nothing but a small little town. It's a little town where everybody knows everything. Nothing's a secret. So he don't know, the inmate doesn't know the pressure that you're dealing with because the officers, your superior, they're letting you know they're getting a whiff, they're getting a hint that drugs are circulating within the jail. So now this has you on your toes because you know you the person that's smuggling and bringing the shit in there. Okay, so not only you got to watch your back with the inmates, now you got to watch your back with the staff. You can't move funny. You got to try to be normal. You got to look normal, like you ain't doing anything. And that's a lot of pressure because you know you are the reason drugs are circulating in there. And it's worse when the drugs get so bad out of hand where you have inmates overdosing off of it. Inmates getting sick off of it. In the worst case scenario, 2 or 3 inmates found dead in their bunks because of it. When it gets to that point, that's when the stakes are really high. But we'll just keep it basic at this point. Okay? You feeling the heat from your superiors, and you're feeling the heat from the inmate that you have made this deal, that you have sealed this deal with. So you may feel at this point that you want to back down because, again, the inmate does not know, and for the most part does not care, that you are actually working within the inside. So you're hearing about the things that they are looking for. You're hearing about the things that they want officers to start stepping their game up on. So it puts a lot of pressure on you at this point. Again, the inmate doesn't care. So you're starting to talk hesitant, like you're not sure, like you want to back out from this. And this is when he really starts upping the ante. Look, you done already looked out for me before. You know, you done already met up with my connect. You know, you done already, I got proof, you know what I'm saying, that you done already looked out. I got proof of the time you went up there. You know, I got proof of the calls that we made, how the transactions was done. At this point, you know, I can use all this against you if you don't look out for me and do this next solid. Now, the inmate has went from charming to coercing. He went from charming to conning. That's the better word. Now he's conning you. He did all of that sweet talk, made it seem as if you just did it that one time, that would be it. He done got greedy now. Okay? So, you know that this inmate has proof on you, because he's observing that now all of a sudden you want to back down, you want to back out. He's raising the stakes on you because, again, these inmates don't have nobody. So when they finally do get somebody, they're going to keep their foot on your neck. When they have broken the officer in, they're going to keep coming for you. It'll never be enough. So now you got this pressure. If I don't give in, he gonna rat me out and snitch on me, and I lose my job. Get terminated on a dishonorable note. So at this point, I got to do another solid. Now this time, he could raise the stakes even higher and not even pay you, because at this point he knows that he has you. He knows that whether he pays you or not, you got to do it. You may get lucky, he'll still drop a solid on you, still, you know, give you some money. At this point, he may get funky altogether, because now he know he got you where he wants you, and he might not even pay you no more at this point, which is a double slap in the face. Because, I mean, what are you going to do? Tell your lieutenant, oh, I'm up here, you know, smuggling drugs inside the jail, and this dude ain't paying me. He paid me the first time he paid. He got you by the balls now. Do y'all see how bad this gets? So now, at this point, the officer is stuck between a rock and a hard place. So she has to decide, how long is she going to continue to be the inmate's pet? The worst pet you can become is a pet to an inmate. Because them jokers are greedy and they're ruthless. Hey, they ain't locked up for nothing. Have no heart, no compassion for you. Because at the end of the day, they don't like you. You are an officer. They don't give a damn about you. They don't care if you're under pressure. They want what they want, and they got you now. They got proof that you've been delivering. And they're going to let you know they got it. Because the mission at this point is to keep you as a lifeline. They have no other means to the outside but you. And this goes for whether you're a nurse, officer, counselor, whatever position you play in the jail. It does not matter. Inmates do not discriminate. It don't matter if you're black. It don't matter if you're white. You see they got a black female officer and a white female nurse. It don't matter. And look at the inmates that was involved in the scheme. Not even worth the trouble these two women are going to have to deal with for the rest of their life. But we'll speak on that another time. this content is going to be a little longer than usual because it's a lot of stuff that goes on with this. I know because I used to work in them. So, now that you have to keep doing this, something is going to happen. These drop-ins, smuggling these drugs in, smuggling the cell phone in. First of all, the demands are going to get higher, which means there's going to be higher chances of the officers getting caught. Inmates are greedy. They don't know how to slowly, gradually get away with doing stuff. They get greedier and greedier and greedier. If they can have you smuggling a damn 60-inch screen TV in there, they'll have you doing that too. You went and he had you going for meeting this guy once a week to where you miss seeing him every damn day now. Every time you get off of work, you got to go meet this guy because you know this inmate has something on you. And you want to quit, but at the same time, because I hear people say it all the time, well, if you know you getting caught up, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just quit? That's easy to say, but if you got kids and you got bills, you can't just quit like that. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing for that inmate in that jail, you still got to take care of home. You got kids, you got light bill, you got water bill. So in some instances, some officers who done gotten way in over their head in this situation, it's not that easy for them to just quit. Because for one, you're trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to get out of this. How I'm going to quit and make it not look like it's this. It's because of this. Meanwhile, the bills are still coming. Your kids are still depending on you. You got to pay for childcare. You got to put groceries in the house. You got to put gas in your car. You got to pay your car insurance. Bills are not going to stop because you got the situation going on. So a lot of officers don't quit on the strength of that. They still got to pay their bills. Now, some are smart enough like, damn the bills. I'm going to just take my chances. I'm going to just go ahead and goddamn quit because the heat is getting too hot in here for me to carry. I can't handle the heat no more. They'll jump ship and figure it out later and hope they get lucky and get a job right away where their bills don't fall too far behind. But there's a catch with that catch-22 to that too. A lot of officers think because they quit, they can't get in trouble. That don't mean nothing. Once they have evidence that you was smuggling in them drugs during your duration as an officer, they will pull your ass off of your new job and still arrest you. Once you in there, you in there. Leaving and fleeing is not going to change the outcome. You're going to get arrested. I done seen officers do it. Quit and start a new job only to get arrested on the new job they started. Because you're being charged. You're an offender at this point. You're not an officer. They're not going to look out for you. They're going to blast you. They're going to embarrass you. They're going to come on your job and pull you off of there. Because you're being charged. You didn't just get fired. This ain't no simple termination. You got caught doing something illegally that has become a threat to the jail, a risk to the other officers who work there. That got to come encounter with these inmates that are using the drugs that you're smuggling in there. You're a liability at this point. But anyway, so now that the stakes are higher, the inmate has got greedier. He has you bringing in more and more and more and more stuff. You're way in over your head. Like I said, you're trying to decide how to get out of this, and you really can't get out of it because they tell you when you first work there, do not open that door because once you open the door to an inmate, you cannot control it. You cannot stop it. It's like a freight train. It's like a roller coaster with no brakes. So not only that, this is the next problem you got to deal with. Drugs have circulated into the jail now, thanks to you. Now, in some instances, some officers don't want to do the dirty work by themselves. They'll get another staff member. They'll get another officer to join in and say, hey, this is how I'm making extra money. You know, they don't pay us a lot here. All we got to do is this one thing, this, and that. Some are smart enough to rob the bank by themselves, or others, they'll get somebody else to join. Now, I don't know if this is the case with this situation here. The details the investigation has yet to confirm yay or nay if the nurse and officer were together or what. But this happens a lot. You have a ring of officers. I've heard stories, ring of officers, where it was 2 or 3 of them that was in on it. They was in on it with the librarian. They was in on it with the nurse. Because sometimes you cannot pull this off by yourself. You do be needing help. Either way, it's still not good. Okay? So, and that's even worse, because now what's going on is the inmates are controlling the jail. The inmates are running the jail. Once you start getting officers and nurses and staff smuggling in drugs and contraband, the jail ain't safe at this point. Okay, so anyway, back to my story. So, now that they got you doing this every week, something's going to happen now, because the inmates done got greedier. The chances of getting caught is coming closer and closer. You're getting warm. Like the game Finders Keepers, when they say, you're getting warm, you're getting near it. You're getting warm now. Because this is the other issue you got to deal with. You already got this one inmate who done went from charming to conning. He got you bringing this shit in every week. And he's not even paying you now because he got you by the balls. At this point, you're getting frustrated, but you have to keep it together because you're still an officer. You can't let the other officers see you sweat, see you under pressure over inmate, because it's going to start drawing attention to you. So you still got to put on that united front when you come to work. You still got to put that smile on your face. You still got to act professional. You still got to try to blend in with the officers, even though in actuality, you're not an officer anymore. You're an inmate at this point. Because the inmates have got you doing everything that only other inmates should be doing. They're using the hell out of you at this point. At this point, you're not even an officer. The other officers and agency doesn't know that yet till you get exploited or exposed. But you're not one of the officers anymore. You're one of them. You're an inmate, ma'am. You're an inmate with a uniform on. Because once an inmate controls you, you're an inmate now. So what goes on is now, not only you dealing with this greedy ninja who got you bringing in the stuff every week, the problem is other inmates are catching on. They know what you're doing for him. Inmates are worse than a bunch of babbling women in the beauty shop. You think women gossip? You don't want it. Inmates talk about other officers day in and day out. I've heard them talk about officers who they was able to talking and doing all kind of stuff. I've seen it. I've heard it. So what happens is the other greedy ninjas, because nothing is a secret, like I told y'all at the jail. Everybody knows everything. These inmates know your own problems more than you do. So, at this point, now you have another greedy ninja out the blue who approaches you. Look, I already know, I already know that you're looking out for Johnson. I already know all that stuff that them dudes is puffing on in themselves. I know it's because you the one that's bringing that shit in here. I've been watching you for months. I already know you be hooking up so-and-so. I already know you part of the reason half of that shit is coming in here. Now I need to look out. How you gonna look out for him, but you can't look out for me? That's discrimination. I already know you're looking out for my man. Now I need a favor. What are you going to do? Tell him no? The other guy already got you in the headlock. What the other inmate did was he either ran his big ass mouth, which is stupid of him, because you was his connect. You was bringing stuff up in the jail for him, looking out for him. Or either another hating ass ninja saw how he was benefiting. Now he wants to benefit. Inmates are each other's biggest haters. I've seen inmates get mad because the officer give another inmate an extra towel and he didn't get one. They rush their children. How you gonna give that nigga 2 towels and we supposed to only have 1? Or how you gonna give him an extra butter, but I can't get an extra butter? That's what they call the peanut butter sandwiches. They call them butter sandwiches at the jail I used to work at. They already get jealous or envious if you're a female showing a little too much attention. A lot of times it's just manipulation. They don't even be jealous like that. It's just manipulation. Just to try to get you to do more stuff. You know what I mean? But nah, this ninja, he about to report you. He already know what's going on. You know what's going on. So now you finding yourself doing the same thing with him. You bringing in stuff for him. At this point, you still got to make a decision. Are you going to quit? Or are you going to keep stretching yourself thinner and thinner with these ninjas? Because the word is circulating around the wing. Let me tell you, inmates are smart enough to do stuff and keep it away from the officers. They will put each other on, but they are smart enough to keep it away from officers because they want that connect. You may have one inmate that may get mad enough to see how all the other ninjas capitalizing off the officer and may report it. Now, if he's benefiting, he ain't gonna say a word. It's sketchy now. The stakes are high because as the female officer, now you got more and more inmates that are getting hip to what you're doing for this other inmate. Now they approaching you. Now they trying to capitalize off of you. Now it's gotten out of hand. You went from looking out for one inmate. Now it done went from 1 to 7 inmates that you got to bring stuff in for. Not only that, meanwhile, your superior is riding on y'all coattail, want to know how these drugs are getting in here. Why y'all not doing enough? We got to start doing what they call search and seizure. That's when they cell abstractions. That's what they call it, cell abstractions. It's when we actually unexpectedly don't warn the inmates, don't give them no heads up, no nothing, and you actually randomly just one day go do a shakedown and our whole unit. So during the shakedown, whatever the officers find, that stuff is compensated for. Whatever cell they find the drugs in, both inmates are going to get in trouble. Because they already know inmates are going to lie and say, it's not my shit, it's his, it's his, it's his, it's not mine, whatever. Both are going to get in trouble. Unless that one inmate is willing to take all the heat, but most of the time they're not. It continues to become an ongoing problem. They finding these drugs. And they starting to notice it's always in your unit. Why is Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, they don't have this issue. It's only Delta. And we know who works in Delta. Officer Jenkins has been working Delta the majority of this week. No, it's only 3 officers because there ain't no way no one officer could work a whole wing by themselves. They rotate or alternate. The 3 officers that work Delta, they're going to start investigating them. No, 4, because you got 2 officers throughout the day, 2 throughout the night, whatever, I don't know. But now it's bringing a red flag. Too much stuff is happening here. Now, something's going to have to give. That inmate may feel pressured like his back is against the wall and he may rat now. Because he thinking he going to get brownie points. He thinking he going to get some time deducted if he rat an officer out. Or he's hating on another inmate that the officer is looking out for. So he's willing to throw the officer under the bus based off of not the problem he has with the officer, but the ninja that's getting the hook up from the officer. That's the other issue. It starts getting too big and out of hand. The more people are going to start talking. The more people that get involved, the more somebody's going to run their mouth. Somebody's going to blow up your spot. Not only do you have to be careful with the inmates, you may have certain co-workers who don't like you. Officers do not look out for other officers, contrary to what a lot of inmates and a lot of people think. Officers will throw another officer under the bus in a heartbeat. Believe it or not, an officer gets more brownie points by exposing another officer's wrongdoing before an inmate's wrongdoing. It's more of a bonus when they can expose another officer that are doing things outside of their uniform. Nothing makes an officer more proud than to expose another officer. I've seen this. I witnessed this. An officer catching inmates is not the golden prize, is not the golden ticket. An officer catching another officer, that is the golden prize and the golden ticket. There's no loyalty within the law enforcement like people think. Officers are way more, put it this way, inmates are more loyal to each other than officers are more loyal to other officers. Now, I would say when it comes to safety, they'll have each other's back on that as far as that goes. But when it comes to catching you doing things outside of that uniform, they're going to report it. And I would say if it's something that's definitely going to jeopardize the safety of the officers, then sometimes it has to, in most times, it got to be reported. Officers smuggling drugs in there, do you realize the risk it puts other officers, that this dude gets high, he wants to become combative and fight officers, or this dude is high, he dies on one of the officers' shifts, and the officer has to answer and explain to that. So it is a very high liability. But you got some officers that don't just snitch because of safety reasons or liability reasons. They like to snitch because they don't like you. They like to snitch because they're brown nosing and trying to get promoted. It's a lot of corrupt officers out there who do not have other officers' backs, especially if they don't like you. If there was a personal thing that happened, maybe y'all disagreed over issue with an inmate, or maybe you called out one day when that lieutenant needed you to be there. A lot of these officers, they hold grudges. They hold grudges. You know, they always look for that opportunity to get to get that one up, to get that get back. It just pretty much comes with it's that crab mentality, and it happens in a lot of workplaces. It's not just, you know, the jails, but it's even worse because, like I said, you already got to worry about the inmates doing you in, but you got to worry about your own staff doing you in. But eventually it comes to a head because you can't please all of these ninjas. They getting greedy, and meanwhile, while they being greedy, you got your superiors chewing your ass out. Johnson, why you ain't been doing your cell obstructions? Because you got to realize little things. You know you smuggling that stuff in there. You're not going to want to throw it out when you see it. You're not going to want to write inmates up for contraband. And really you can't, because you bringing that stuff in there. Your superiors are going to notice that you are not doing your job. And you really can't do your job because the inmates got something on you. That's why in these cases, a lot of these prisons or jails, they have to let you go once you done got caught fraternizing for the inmate, or in the worst case scenario, you got caught smuggling in drugs, bringing in paraphernalia and stuff like that. They have to let you go because you are a risk to the jail. You let inmates run you. You let inmates tell you what to do. The inmates have more authority, which is dangerous because inmates can tell you, because you owe them something, hey, we want to beat that officer ass because we don't like her or we don't like him. So you better pop this door open around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock when the officer get in here so we can beat their ass or whatever. They can get you to do anything. Once you have given them that green light and you smuggling in items, you bringing in things for them, they own you. So at this point now, either she's going to jump ship and quit because she can't take the pressure. Not even put in her 2 weeks, because she not at this point. Putting in 2 weeks ain't going to be good. She got to quit, which means she's going to leave her job on a funky ass note because she can't even put in, she can't even get him the real reason. She can't put in 2 weeks, and she can't get him the reason why. So she has to quit on the spot. Or worst case scenario, the inmate snitches on you. Now you have been reported to IA, Internal Affairs. They investigate you. 9 times out of 10, when they corner you and start asking you stuff, they already got the evidence they need. You might as well go ahead and confess. You lying and saying you didn't do nothing. You don't know what they're talking about. It's not going to work. Once it's been brought to their attention, first of all, they're not going to come to you right away. This how slick they are. Your superiors, your same lieutenant, your sergeants who's smiling in your face, they're going to get with the higher ups and start doing an investigating on you, and they're going to tell them to start watching you. They're not going to forewarn you. They're not going to tell you anything. You're going to come to work every morning thinking it's a regular day. You done got into your routine of smuggling these drugs in here. You're going to do your little thing. Now, you on camera, but you don't find a slick way to do it. But now that it's been brought to their attention, nothing you do is slick now. They watching how you stand by the door when you pass the drugs to them. They watching, did you go in the area where there's not a camera when you made the drug transaction? They got all of this months and weeks, and they don't take that long because it's drugs. They can't take that long. They can't let it go for weeks at a time. They'll watch you just enough to get some solid ass evidence on you so they could shut down the operation by 1, terminating you, 2, cleaning out that whole goddamn unit, getting all them drugs up out of that bitch, and then next is they are going to charge you for violation of oath. That is what basically ended up happening in this situation. The officer, the nurse, whatever they started off doing, once they started that ball rolling, they could not stop it. It got out of control. Too many ninjas. It's like, how can you defend yourself when you got so many crabs in the barrel? Listen, just an average human being, if they put you in the barrel with a bunch of crabs, now, even though crabs are just crabs and you're a human being, if you are outnumbered, those crabs can destroy you. Especially when they got you tied up with your hands behind your back and your feet tied together, where you can't defend yourself, and they throw a bunch of crabs on you. Them crabs will tear you up in half. They'll devour you. That's what happened. All of the inmates became like crabs to these women. They devoured them. Trapped them. Pimped them out. You become a prostitute to the inmates. Carry your ass on that street corner. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. Kept sending these women to go do their dirty work. Pimping them out. And they pimping an officer in a uniform is what I would like to call it. You can't tell them, no, I don't want to do it. No, I don't feel like doing it. A prostitute can't tell a pimp, no, I don't want to stand on no corner tonight. It's too cold. What that pimp going to do? Slap the hell out of him. You better get your so-and-so out. I said, I need my money. That's what these guys were doing. These women could no longer put their foot down. Once you open that door, inmates lose respect for you. Now they got something on you. Not only that, worst case scenario, they also get sexual favors from you. The stakes keep getting high. Now they want you to come into their cell at night and start giving them some brain. Again, inmates get greedier and greedier. Now they want sexual favors. Bringing in the drugs ain't good enough. They still want you to do that. Now they also want you to do sexual favors. How you think a lot of these female officers get caught up? Getting smashed in the janitor closet. Supposed to be taking the inmate to the nurse, and instead he gets her to to stop him and to one of the little janitor's office or showers or whatever, where nobody's allowed to go at a certain time or whatever. You basically become hostage to the inmates. That's basically what I'm saying. You become hostage to the inmates. They tell you what to do. it becomes unbearable. I had a girlfriend of mine. Well, we wasn't really friends, but we was mutual co-workers. She just started there, pretty young girl. I knew the moment they saw her, they was gonna try her. For a while, it was looking like she had it under control. Somewhere along the line, within 6 months of her being there, I see her face pop up on the news. Everything came out. And that is very embarrassing when you end up on the news, because when you're fraternizing or you get caught smuggling drugs, that's not a regular termination. You actually get charged for that. That goes on your certification, where you will never be hired as another officer again in life. At least definitely not in the state where you got certified from. What she was doing, she got caught up. She did for one inmate liking him. He put that prison pillow talk on her. And next thing you notice, she was emailing him, putting money on his books. And then when she did it from her debit card with her name. The jail had all this information. The irony of doing shit at the jail, and the jail specializes in investigating shit, I don't get that. But that's a whole nother story. So, with that, she definitely ended up on the news. She got terminated, and most importantly, her reputation. Everywhere she goes, people remember her face. For being exposed as the officer who got bamboozled by inmates. And let me tell you something, these inmates, they don't give a damn about you. Even the nicest ones. Make no mistake about it, they don't like you because you have something they don't have. Number one is authority, and number two, most importantly, is freedom. They know no matter how much they cuss you out, no matter how much they disrespect you or try you or challenge you, you get to go home to your family at the end of the day. You get to take vacation at some point in time. A lot of them ain't never coming up out of there. So they have nothing to lose making your life miserable. So also with the story, like I said, the nurse and the officer got caught smuggling in items. There's another officer who also got in trouble, but he did not get arrested like these two women, for bringing another inmate into another area to attack another inmate. He got in trouble for that. You cannot do that. Even if you don't like an inmate, you cannot allow another inmate to get attacked. You cannot bring an inmate to that inmate's cell. You cannot bring an inmate to that inmate you don't like. You cannot allow them to get attacked by another inmate. Whether if that inmate wants to attack them for their own personal revenge, or you using that inmate to attack another inmate because you know by you being an officer, you cannot put your hands on that inmate. So you use another inmate to do your dirty work. That's unethical as well. He is released on bond, the officer who did that. He is released on bond. So I'm sure it's completely not over for him. He still has to respond sooner than later. He's going to have to answer to that in some shape or form. Basically what he did was place an inmate into a high risk housing unit where he was beaten and stabbed. That's a big problem. And he was released on bond, but that does not mean it's over. I don't know why people think bond means you are free. No, it just means you paid for your freedom until you go to court or trial. You're not off. You're not getting away with not being able to answer for the crime you committed. It just basically says we don't feel you are too much of a threat to where we have to keep you locked up until trial. We are willing to let you pay to stay out of jail until we have trial, but you're still going to have to come to court. You're still going to have to face a possibility of getting arrested and convicted. So his life, he's not in the clear. Now reading from another report, I see that both of the women are currently incarcerated at the very jail in which they worked, and they are facing charges of giving, I did not know this, but the information is updated, giving guns, drugs, or alcohol. This is allegedly. What specifically was given to the inmates has not been disclosed. Now, this article is a little tricky because it says faces charges of giving guns, drugs, or alcohol. So it not necessarily meaning that the inmates was giving guns. I just want to clarify that, because I was like, that's real steep there. They was able to get away with bringing in weapons, but you never know. And if I find that out, I will definitely keep y'all updated. But again, it is still very vague on specifically what type of contraband the officer and the nurse brought in. But 9 times out of 10, I'm certain it's drugs. I'm certain it's drugs. I'm certain on that. That's one of the biggest issues with a lot of these jails, is they have no control over these officers violating their oath. You can threaten them, you can train them, you can show them all the ropes on how to avoid this type of situation. But when these inmates get in their head, you know, or start doing that mind verbal judo with them, and you're going in the wind, pretty much it's all over from there. The inmates have control. But trust and believe, the inmates who was in on it, they're going to get another charge added on to the charges they currently have in the jail, which most of them don't give a damn, especially if they're in there for murder or something major where they're not going to see the daylight any goddamn way. But they don't get off scot-free either. The inmates are also going to be charged. But once you get that type of stain on you, like I said, it's one thing to be fired, it's one thing to be let go of, but on the strength of an inmate talking you in to smuggle drugs into a facility in which you jeopardize not only your safety but the safety of other officers. Drugs affect people differently. It makes people more combative. It makes people paint elephants and all kind of crazy stuff, makes them hallucinate to where they're attack the officer, think of the officer is approaching them in a manner of bringing harm to them. You never really understand what officers go through when they have to deal with somebody that's high and strung out, you know, and you have to open that door only for them to come out wailing on you, beating on you, because they think you the boogeyman or something like that. I was spared by the grace of God. I didn't have all of those encounters. I didn't get the piss thrown on me. I didn't get the shit thrown on me or whatever. For the most part, I was very respectful. But I had game ran on me. I've had inmates jack off on me. There was things that I've gone through that was not very pleasant. But nevertheless, for anybody who's in correction or thinking about corrections, do not go into this field if you can easily be charmed or manipulated by the opposite sex. Same thing for you men, because you will encounter a female inmate from time to time. You're just not in the proximity of them as much as female officers are with the men. However, you still have to be mindful. So anyway, y'all, leave y'all comment below. Let me know what y'all think about the situation. If you're somebody who have prior correctional officer experience, feel free to come in the comment section, share your experiences, give some advice on some of these individuals that are thinking about getting into corrections. Let them know what they might have to mentally prepare for. If you're interested in me doing more content on becoming a correctional officer, please hit me up, let me know, or leave a comment below. Before y'all leave, please hit that like button. It is your diva and knowledge, Lady Mocha, represent Mocha's Cafe de Paris, where I'm always serving you wisdom, knowledge, and spiritual awareness. Y'all take care.